Okay, so in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to add a table to your database on the StackNZ server. So go ahead and log in to cPanel, and you'll get to this page here, which is your home page, your cPanel homepage. And as before, when we created the database, scroll down to the databases section, and this time I'm going to click on phpmyadmin. Now that's the interface for a MySQL database. So we'll click on that, and it should pop up in a new window. Now there'll be two appear on the left hand side. The one we want is our database, which is in my case called database_news. Yours will probably have your username and then underscore whatever you called your database, so maybe El Sombrero or a country. So I'm just going to go into that database by clicking on it, and because it's brand new there are no tables found, and it prompts me immediately to add a new table. So because I'm creating a database for the news articles, I'm going to call my table news. Now it's pretty important when you're creating this that you actually plan ahead how many fields you want. So I'll show you now what I'll do for the news table, and at the end of this tutorial I will just go briefly over a suggestion for the Mexican restaurant project and how you might want to set up your tables there. So I'll just go into Word and show you the rough setup for this news table. And so what I have is, in our table I'm planning on having four columns. The first one, news ID, refers to the unique ID number for each news article. So the very first article that will be added will have an ID of 1, the second will have an ID of 2, and so on. Now this is always going to be an integer, and it's going to go up. They will never ever share an ID, they will be unique. And this is the primary key. This is how we identify news items, not by their headlines or content, but by their ID number. So it's very important, and you'd always have some form of ID in your tables. Next one I'm going to have is the headline, because I guess that's what I'd like to display in a list of headline articles. The author who wrote it, and then the article itself, which will be the body of text. So I'll just jump back into cPanel now and create it. Yeah, so that's 4 fields, so I'll click add 4, and then just click over here on Go. Right, so this wonderfully unfriendly interface. We've got our fields running across the page. So the first one we had was news ID. Now it's defaulted to integer, which is what we want, because we want numbers, no decimals. Now the length is how many characters we'd want. Now again, you just have to plan ahead. How many articles do you see yourself having? Now in my case, if I was only going to have, say, no more than 99, then I'd have a length of 2. However, if I was doing maybe a larger site, there might be upwards of 100, so maybe up to 999. So I'm going to put 3 in there. Now you can come back and change this later, so it's not set in stone. If you find that you're approaching your limit, you can jump in here and increase the length. If I scroll across here, there are some other things I do need to change. Across here under index, I need to change this to primary, because this is going to be our primary key. In other words, this is how we identify elements in this table. And the thing next to it under AI stands for auto increment. I'll just check that, because every time one is added, I'd like the ID number to automatically increase by 1. So if there are 10 articles in the database and I add another one, I'd like it to automatically get the ID of 11. Alright, let's scroll back across. The next field was headline. Now that's going to be body text. I'm going to use something called varchar in here. Stands for variable characters, can be text, numbers, symbols. And I don't know how long a headline could be, maybe 200 characters. That's all we need to do for that one. The next one was author, which I will also make varchar. And I'm hoping authors' names aren't going to be longer than about 50 characters. And the last one was article, and again it's some form of text, so varchar. And again, I don't know how long these articles are going to be. You can change it. I'm just going to go for 10,000 characters, so a reasonable sized article. So there you have it. That's obviously a very simple table. If you want to do things like date, for example, you can look at price, in which case you'll be looking at decimals and stuff. I can go into those in another tutorial, but that's a basic introduction. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead now over to the right hand side. Now instead of clicking on go, which is a nice easy trick that will add another field, we don't want that. We want to click on save, because that will save what we've done. And when it does that, it will tell you at the top here that the news table has been created. It even shows you the SQL code that has been done to create that table, and that's the language that we'll be using later to run queries on the information. Okay. And below it now gives us a summary of our table. There are the 4 fields, their types, auto increment, and so on. So that is how you create a basic table.